All systems are a go.
Confirming all systems are a go. Launching the podcast.
3, 2, 1.
This is Hello from Mars.
These Bernie Sanders memes are giving me life. We are out of the basement right now, and we are upstairs kind of in my little Zoom nook. And that is because I'm going to have a couple different guests coming on today. My friend Mark is joining the pod. I want to have like a really good mental health discussion because I feel like it's not talked about enough. And when it's done the right way, everybody can be a little bit more comfortable about it. So he's going to be joining in just a little bit. I also am going to be getting to vacation nightmare stories because I was just thinking about like the fact that so many of us, those of us who are doing what we're supposed to be doing and just, trying to be a part of the solution rather than the problem, those of us who aren't necessarily traveling and trying to just kind of stay put while COVID gets situated, a lot of us are kind of dreaming about where we want to go and where we could go. But for some reason, some of the bad ones came up in my head. They stick around. It's great. So I've got a couple stories to share, but I've also got Holly who's going to jump on and share one of her experiences, as well as getting to a couple more of your stories. That'll be later on in the podcast. But these Bernie Sanders memes, I swear. So he wasn't actually in my studio for anybody who thinks he was. But you can see that picture as well as a few other ones that I created at the Instagram account. Just search Hello from Mars podcast. I think he's just got one coat. He's like the rest of us here in the Northeast and New England and upstate New York. Like, coats are expensive. You just need one for formal and casual and rolling around in manure and in a pig farm. I don't know. Like, coats are expensive, but healthcare shouldn't be. That's what Bernie would say, right? Let's get to Tops and Pop, shall we?
Tops in Pop.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, that is the big story, I think, for the week. Who cares about what actually happened at the inauguration otherwise? Just Bernie Sanders. But this also happened. So Joe Exotic, I just want to get him out of the way real quick. I feel like that's probably everybody that's ever been in his life. But Tiger King himself, he's saying that he believes Trump didn't pardon him because he's just too gay and he might just be too right. It seems probably accurate given the source and the person who was going to potentially pardon him. But that being said, sorry, Joe, stay in jail where you probably belong. Also, something that I always find that's pretty cool when it comes to celebrities and houses and mansions in Hollywood and stuff is when they kind of like house swap, sort of. Like not where it's like one, they just like completely swap, but like as an example, like Ellen rented her home at one point, I think, to Britney Spears, and that's kind of fun. But this is the most recent is Halsey bought former One Direction guy Liam Payne's house for just a little chump change, just 10 million, no big deal, NBD, if you will. So now that's going to happen. It's always cool too if like you ever get to see the pictures, like what it looked like with Liam in it and now what it looks like with Halsey in it, everybody's got their own style and flair. I always get nervous when Amanda Bynes is in the news. She is this week, apparently nothing too awful, but I haven't actually taken a listen to this song yet. Apparently she's a rapper now. I don't see that being a thing, but to each their own. Speaking of rappers, though, okay, if you haven't listened to the song that Macklemore dropped on Inauguration Day, it's called Trump's Over. And it doesn't matter. Like, okay, if you're like super Trumper, you're probably going to be mad. But it's against like politics in general. If you listen to the lyrics, and his little toddler Sloan makes an appearance, and I mean, it's just fire. He does not give the credit he deserves. He's way more than Thrift Shop. So go ahead and check that out. I want to get to Mark, and I want to do this mental health conversation because I think we could all benefit from it. You're going to hear some things that might be helpful for you. Maybe it's just a matter of knowing that you're not alone. But whatever the case, a lighthearted conversation is about to happen I hope that you leave it feeling a little bit less alone and a little bit more understood. And make sure you're watching out for bonus content at the Instagram page and Facebook as well. Here you go. Well, Mark, I'm glad that you could be with me today because this is, the pandemic has been weird for all of us, but I think what's been great for me is that it's brought this like community of listenership and followers that I've had over the course of my career. And I think I've gotten closer with so many people because of this specific situation that we're all going through. Like, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, or because people have been joining me for trivia on Thursday on social, like, I feel like you're one of those people. I've gotten to know you a lot better during all of this, and it's been a blessing.
Absolutely. And I 100% agree with you. And I feel like the biggest question during this pandemic that a lot of people can ask each other, and sometimes is afraid to ask because you don't know what the person is going through, is that simple: how you doing?
Yeah.
Because I've learned those three, it's a short little phrase, 3 little words: how you doing? And it's almost like, this is going to be a weird analogy. It's almost like a verbal hug.
Yeah.
Just like, like you're telling somebody like, hey, I'm here. Like having a friend tell you, hey, what's going on? I'm here for you. Let's talk, is the best remedy during all this, because you start to realize, you know what? We're all in this boat. We're all struggling. I got laid off back in August with my job. Thankfully, I'm starting a new job tomorrow, but I've been blessed with family and friends to like yourself to pull me through everything, and it has been depressing. And seeing friends I can't see over the holidays, to, not seeing my aunt that I would always see on Christmas, just give her that nice warm hug. I can't do that. But having technology like this that I'm, still working out on, I've been able to bring things closer together.
Yeah, it's been great because I know that I've seen you've been posting those kind of things too, of like checking in with people, and that's a big part of what I've been doing too, is just because I know how tough it can be in normal life. Like I'm somebody who did hit my rock bottom already long before the pandemic hit, and I had to build myself back up and heal a lot. And I'm glad that I did, because who knew that this was all going to happen, but who knows what could have happened if I hadn't taken care of myself. And the same goes for you, because I know at some point you have been in that dark spot as well. And that's why I wanted to have you on, and I want to talk about mental health, because it's one of those things where pre-pandemic, nobody wanted to talk about it. There's a horrible stigma when it comes to mental health for whatever reason. It's just like almost like shamed on. And the truth is that we all have problems every once in a while that we struggle to get through. And that's okay. Like, that's totally okay. And I know a lot of people know me from being on the radio and being funny and country music, pop music, whatever. But the life coach side of me wants to make people comfortable talking about this kind of stuff, because it is so important, especially right now. And
my avenue is, thank God I'm active, healthy, and keeping in shape that way. I've been working out, going to the gym when it started we got shut down back in February, before pre-pandemic. And I had to work out at home, walking around the Esplanade, going to the Common, just, finding some avenue to find an escape. Like like I tell my friends, give me a playlist on my phone, give me a trail to go on or a run, and I'm happy. Like, I just be able to check out with everything going on. I try not to watch too much news with everything going on at the Capitol, politics, everything like that. I just shut myself off for 3-4 hours, going on a run, going to the gym, listening to music, playing music. And those are my avenues. If I could recommend anybody, find your niche, find your avenue to shut the world off, shut technology off, shut the news off. It's toxic as it is. And I've been blessed to be able to partake in these charities runs that I do through the American Cancer Society, through Stop Soldier Suicide. And it's just my avenue to find, and it's ironically enough on Facebook, and there's a great support group there where you see people's progress over, the month of doing it. And there's a great support group. I just wrapped it up about probably 2 weeks ago of a great charity. And you just continue giving each other support during all this. And I admittedly have depression, and, but I don't use it as a thing to define me. I use it as a way to, like, I can improve each day. Like, okay, if I can do 2 miles on Monday, I'm going to aim for 4 by Thursday. And it's just that little self-motivation to be able to block it out during all this.
I'm glad you can do that. My lungs hurt just hearing you talk about that. My asthma is like, no. But you hit on a lot of things. Like, I've talked to a lot of different clients that I have through my life coaching company throughout this entire era. And it's, finding your niche. You've got to find the things that you love. This is the perfect time to be able to, because we have so much downtime, regardless if you have a job or not, like, you have way much more time to figure out and, like, kind of reinstill those hobbies that we've forgotten about. You know what I'm saying? Because normal life is so busy that we drop the little stuff that we love. And then, like, we have this free time, and we're like, wait, what am I going to do? And a lot of people got on the couch and they just binged Netflix, and that's where Tiger King came in and everything else. But I found that I went back to painting and drawing, and I went back to basketball, and and being outside and being outdoors, and doing all the walks and getting into nature and stuff. And those are like almost like the childhood things that I always grabbed onto that helped get me through the toughest part of the pandemic, where it was like, I was in this weird, am I moving? Am I not moving? I've got all my stuff in Boston, but I'm at home in Waterford, New York. And, what's next? I didn't know what was next. Instead, I was sleeping on a futon for months at my parents' house. So to keep myself sane, it was going back to those old hobbies, finding myself. And that's, I think, when you start gravitating towards the things that you realize you enjoy, you start to enjoy life itself better. So that's exactly what I've been telling people.
And the funny thing is about downtime, since I had to move back and live with my family, I've suddenly become a Jeopardy expert.
Me too.
And the funny thing, and the thing is, and rest in peace, Alex Trebek. But yes. the thing is, I watch it. And I'll watch it with my dad, who's, pretty knowledgeable on current events and history. And I've noticed over time, I feel like I'm back in high school again. I'm an expert in World War II history, geography, and pop culture music. And I'll be sitting there and I'll be watching it, and I'll run through the World War II history. But when it comes to, like, pop culture music, all of a sudden I'll hear from the kitchen, maybe 20, 30 feet away, my mom say, "That's Post Malone," and I'm like, "How the hell? How the hell do you know all this?" And then she's like, "Well, I'm hip on the music as well." And
I guess she is to know Post Malone.
and so it's really funny, and how it really brings us all together with my family, because there's that connection that, we can all have. And the also thing with a lot of downtime on top of doing, Zoom interviews and filling out resumes and trying to tweak everything, I've been with you with painting. I'm pretty damn good at puzzles now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, give me a 1,500 piece puzzle. I'll finish that in 2 days.
My Nana has one that I gave her of Boston like 2 Christmases ago. So you'll have to, take the 3-hour drive and help her out, because that thing's been sitting on a table for like 2 years now. I'm like, Nana, you've had so much time.
Your Nana is super feisty.
Oh,
by the way.
I know. Believe me. So I don't want to like harp on the hardships that you had battled, but if you could just go back for a second when you were kind of at your worst, what were like the first couple things for you that you noticed started helping you?
It flared up probably around like September, October. where I just shut the world off. Like I may have presented a happy face, but like I always tell people, you know, that happy face always kind of hides what's going on up here. And, you know, not to dwell too much into it, but like I was, you know, assaulted in high school, and the losing of trust with those in higher power, like, you know, like teachers, you know, superintendents, so on and so forth, kind of dwindled because I thought they were there to protect me at the time. And so like male figures kind of I like pushed away from, because, you know, that was the type of figure that at that time assaulted me. And I just, you know, kind of pushed myself away and kind of resonated more with like my female friends that I have. I ran into that person Massachusetts primary day, if you can remember, way back in September. And it was a beautiful day. You know, I was at a high point. I was on a run, working out, just listening to, don't judge Taylor Swift on a run.
I'm not going to judge. I will never judge anybody's musical faves. That's all. I will tell you that right now.
But yeah, so like I was heading back to the car, and I see the guy that did that stuff to me back in high school, and immediately like that, I go back to the time in 2003 when that happened. And from that moment on, I literally just shut down. Like I was still living in Boston at the time, and I literally, all I did was I just shut off and I drove home. I drove an hour home back to Boston because I was helping my parent in Foxborough, and then drove back to Boston. And so I literally shut my apartment off, closed the door, and I just, you know, shut it off. And I had those thoughts where I was like, is it really worth it now? Like I lost my job in a month before. You know, friends are moving across the country now and stuff. Like I'm a lone ranger up in this area. I mean, I still talk to them, but you know, they're distant. And I was just thinking, like, is it really worth it anymore?
It was a lot it was a lot for you all at once. That's what happens. Is everything always happens all at once, and it
was like a tidal. It was like a tidal wave, you know,
incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah, and from going from the current day I just endured to literally having like a movie reel in my head of the day that I tried to black out from like 17 years ago. And it was like I shut my phone off for the whole rest of the week. Like I would go on walks, but I would just like shut my thing off. And then I remember distinctively, like on a Saturday, I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to turn my phone on just for S and giggles. And I turned it on, and all of a sudden I get like 30 voicemails, 40 text messages. They're like, hey, we heard something went on, like what's going on? And then all of a sudden, like, I think I'm ready to open up now. Like, I think I'm ready to talk to friends, talk to family, like what's going on. And like you said, it was just that tidal wave where it's just like, you don't expect it. Like you never expect it to happen, but it just like that. And like I said earlier, I found my niche. I found avenues of like listening to music, playing music. You know, there's this thing that I found online where a lot of people do like Zoom jamming. Like I occasionally play guitar on occasion, and I dusted that old thing off, and I met up with a couple of old high school buddies you know, that I was in chorus and jazz band with, and we just kind of did jam sessions like this. It's like that virtual hug. It's like that hug where it's just like, hey, you know what? Check that stuff out. That, you know, that doesn't exist anymore. And like my grandfather told me, don't let people stay in your mind if they ain't paying the rent.
Yeah.
And what that resonates to me is, if it's a problem, if it's something depressing, if it's a person, if it's a thing, if it's whatever it is, if it's living rent-free in your mind, you need to kick it out. They haven't been paying the bills. They haven't been paying the rent. They're living in your head rent-free. And like, I always tell my friends that either go through a bad breakup or go through a firing or go through layoff, I'm like, you're going to get over this. It's going to stay in your mind for a week. But at the end of that week, you better give them that person, place, or thing the eviction notice and kick it out.
Yep.
You know, your mind is so sensitive where you need to, you know, treat it right. You got to kick them out. And it took I was always that person that always never really practiced what I preached. Sometimes, like, I'm good at giving advice, but sometimes, me being the Irish Catholic guy that I am, sometimes I'm stubborn in the sense where I don't take my own advice.
No, Irish and stubborn, those don't go together. Apparently you agree.
The old thing about us Irish, we don't go to therapy. We don't go to therapy. Our therapy is our friends at the bar.
Yeah, right.
And you know.
And a lot of the bars have been closed, so now what?
We're all screwed.
Yeah. So remember, you can check out some mental health tips that might just help you with anxiety or just kind of normal day-to-day kind of stuff. Head over to Facebook, head over to Instagram, search Hello from Mars podcast. I'll have a video up there to kind of go over a few things that Mark and I actually discussed even off video, off audio. So you can see that now right there on the socials for your bonus content. I want to get to some vacation nightmare stories because I have a couple. And I know that you guys shared a bunch with me. So I want to join right now with Holly. Welcome to the podcast officially. I'm glad that you could be a part of it. We're going to be talking about vacation nightmares because I guess it's probably better to focus on the nightmare aspect of things right now when we can't really travel. So maybe we won't miss it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. What story did you want to share?
All right, so this was probably about two and a half years ago, 2018. My friend and I were going up to Toronto to actually see the Red Sox play the Blue Jays. So we had it all planned out, airline picked out, Airbnb was all set, ready to go, tickets for the game, tickets like a couple other things. The day we're supposed to leave, probably about 7 hours before the plane, I was supposed to head to the airport and take off and go on the plane, I got an email from the airline. Hey, not only did we cancel today's flight, but we're going to move it to the day you're actually supposed to be leaving. And I'm like, no. Like, my face went like ghost white. Like, I'm Irish, I'm pale. My face went whiter than white. Like, my roommate is just like staring at me like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. So I called the airline. I was on hold for probably about a half hour trying to talk to like a real human being. At the same time, I'm on my laptop, like looking at other flights and stuff. My roommate is like helping me out a little bit. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, the next flight was like that night, but it was like $1,000 just to fly one way. I'm like, there's no way. No, I'm not doing that.
Oh my God, I feel that in the pit of my stomach.
Yeah,
Awful.
Yeah. Like, I could hear my wallet crying, I hear my bank account crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking out. But I finally get a hold of like a human being. I'm like, so I know this isn't your fault, but help. Like,
right.
What's going on? I'm like, why'd you guys cancel the flight like out of Boston? I'm like, I'm on, what the Weather Channel website right now. Like, I'm looking at like major cities like Boston, Syracuse, Buffalo, Toronto. I'm like, it's showing clear skies, perfect weather. And she's like, I'm not sure why they canceled it, but your next flight is on this day. I'm like, well, that doesn't actually help me because it's not like I go to my job and say, hey, just kidding, guys.
Yeah,
I'm going to fly out on this day. And, hey, Red Sox, don't play yet. Just play, next Monday or something.
So what was the solution here?
Getting a rental car from Enterprise and driving 8.5 hours from Boston to, I left about 5 o'clock to pick up my friend from work. From there, we got pizza. From there, we drove.
Wow.
And I'm the only driver.
But you made it in time? You got to the game?
Yeah, we got to the game the next day just in time. No issues. I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
Did the Sox win?
But no, we unfortunately lost. But Mookie Betts did hit for the cycle that game. So
okay, all right. At least there was some positive in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it was pretty cool.
When I was living in Omaha, Nebraska, every time I tried to come home was like it was a chore. So like everything was always canceled or whatever. So it was Christmas Eve, I think. And obviously at Christmas time, you can your vacation time is in, right? So, it's not like you can't change Christmas. So
unfortunately,
I'm waiting for the plane and they canceled it while I was there. And it wasn't because of weather. It wasn't fog. There wasn't an issue in a connecting flight. It was because they were short a flight attendant. And I was so livid.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before in my life.
I was like, dude, I don't care if somebody had too much hard eggnog at your Christmas party. I need to get home. Like, I don't understand. Like, I will gladly be your flight attendant, you know, whatever. Like, keep all your things out of the aisle. Like, I realize there's more to the job than that, but I was pissed. Another story that I had too, because I know that you followed me from 102.5, right, in Boston. So basically, like they sent me on a trip to Jamaica for a live broadcast. Well, it was for a family resort. You take the flight from Florida, and then you have a shuttle that takes you to the resort. And like, what they don't tell you is there's no like real time in between. So no time to get like a snack or anything, like nothing. So you go from like couple hour flight to now like an hour and a half bus ride that this driver didn't care. He was the worst driver I've ever experienced. And we're on a bus with families.
Worse than Boston drivers?
Yes. So, I mean, we've got like kids all around us who one by one started getting motion sickness. And it was just like, up there, some kid threw up. Behind me, some kid's getting sick in a bag. I'm like, this is not paradise, just so we're clear.
No.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
So I had a couple people that did send some stuff in that I wanted to share while you were on. Debbie sent in a story that her and her husband rented a cottage on a private island in the Poconos, but the only way on and off this island was by rowboat. And it poured buckets and buckets for days. So they left early.
Oh, no.
But I have to believe that means that they had a rowboat out in pouring rain. So that just sounds awful.
Yeah, no.
And then I got a story. I've got a story from Josh. This happened just last weekend. Him and his family had left for Florida, made it to the Bronx, made a wrong turn. While trying to get back on the highway, a tractor trailer ran a red, smashed into the truck. And so they were helping a friend move down to Florida. And so they had to repack another truck. And they lost like 8 hours or whatever of their travel. But the good news is once he got there, he got to drive, I guess, the original Batmobile. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, there's pictures. And if anybody's watching on YouTube right now, they can go ahead and check out the pictures. But yeah, I mean, I guess like you got to finally go to the game. He got to ride in the Batmobile, you know.
Yeah.
There's some positives.
Hey, it all works out.
I got to go on a beach in Jamaica, you know, so
yeah.
I just had to get through some vom. That's all.
It's all about perseverance.
So gross.
Oh, hey.